Oh my freaking God. We are finally here. It's finally happening.
Whoever is ready for me, I'm here. I'm represent this country. Dream come true.
Alex Pereira is a beast.
Things aligning perfectly for Ciryl Gane.
O'Malley just slept him.
This man's exciting. They want to see him fight.
Big power shots landing. Some serious damage.
The hype is real.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Let's go! Oh my goodness!
What? I can't believe it. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my Lord, oh my Lanta. Welcome to the DynamiteGizmo Podcast, everyone, episode 303. Woo! I can't believe we're finally at this moment, guys and gals. Oh my gosh. And guess what? I've come prepared. Here's today's card. It's tradition around here to show you the card, and later in the episode, I will show you my picks. Because it's Freedom 250, baby! Yeah! It's Freedom 2 motherfucking 50, dude! Oh, it's been exactly 11 months since we first heard the announcement that Nathaniel White was going to take the take the UFC to the White House. And we all said to ourselves, there's no way. There's no freaking way this guy's going to end up at the White House. This shit's not happening. And then we found out it was happening. And then we're like, it's going to get canceled. There's no way this is going to go through. And months passed, and more information came out as the months trickled on. And then we found out who's on the card. And then we came to June, and then we came to fucking fight week. And this Sunday, it's actually happening. The motherfuckers are gonna fight on the White House lawn. I am so excited for this shit. I can't believe it's finally fucking here. This is incredible. Every week leading up to this week, it was just, whatever. It's going to happen. But now that it's actually right around the corner, I am so excited for this. I am so excited in so many different ways, not just for the fights, but for everything. I want to see what's going to go on. Is it going to rain? Is there going to be bugs? Is it going to be slippery? Is there going to be, I don't even want to say it, but you know what I'm thinking. Oh, and there is a plethora of information that's been funneling through the internet now, because there's so much to talk about. This is going to be a long episode. I have so much to do, so much to say. And at the end of this episode, of course, I'm going to make my fight predictions with my personal hand-created fight prediction sheet, which, by the way, this is available for you for free. Link in the description or in the bio. Download it, print it off, use it for yourself. We will go into depth into this later as to what it is, how you use it, and why it's so good. But right now, we just need to get into all things, everything. You motherfucking FC Freedom 250, baby. Wow, there's so much. Okay? I'm going to start off by talking about... Well, I'm not going to start off by talking about... I will talk about the main event fighters, specifically Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira. But before we get into any of that, it's tradition around here to show the, the Artist Series poster. Okay, because for every numbered event, they hire an artist for now, which that might end up being AI at some point, which I honestly think right now this could have been AI. But they gave us an Artist Series poster for Freedom 250. And it's not bad, but it's not great. Okay, this is the one here. This is the guy. What are we thinking? It's not terrible. It's not essentially that creative. It's kind of like Paramount/America themed. It's okay. It's not bad. But you know what's really trash is the custom fucking shirts that they've got going on based off that poster. It's just it's way too cheesy. It's very corny. It's the kind of shirt that you would buy at like a knockoff fucking stand in the middle of some foreign country. You know the shit that you could buy like for $3, or this is like a Temu special. Like, it doesn't look great. It's not exciting. It's not fun. It's very colorful and bold and outlandish, but it's very basic bitch ass shit. They could have did better than this. But I'm not complaining. Okay? The merch doesn't matter. I'm not buying any of it anyway. I'm here for the fights. But you know what does look good is the actual fucking claw, the arena itself, my friends. Look at this. This is what the shit looks like. Let me get a zoom in here. Look at this. Wowzers. Okay, before we've only seen the claw, okay? So there's obviously the White House in the back, but look at the size of this fucking thing. Look at that shit, dude. And then there's going to be people sitting. Oh, my God. Could you imagine getting one of these seats? Ooh, wow. This is so fucking cool, dude. I don't give a shit if you don't like Donald Trump. You got to admit this is cool. Fuck, this is cool. Look how fucking amazing this is. Wow, dude. Man, this is crazy. I can't believe it's finally happening. I keep saying that, but I'm so fucking excited. Look how cool this looks. Why is this blurry? What's going on over here? Are they hiding something here? Whatever. Wow. Absolutely wonderful. The size of that fucking thing. Now, Donald Trump said that he did want to keep it there, but I think he's joking. Okay? I'm pretty sure he came out on the old internet there and said he was joking. And then they tested the lights, which I have footage of that here. So we actually get to see the lights in action. Look at that, dude. Now, that's just one set of lights. That's just on the claw itself. You got the Lincoln Memorial in the backy. And remember, this Saturday, we got the press conference. It's really unfortunate that it's happening on a Sunday. I really fucking wish they didn't do that. It was such a bad move on their part, but they have their reasons, I guess. But then also, there were these lights. The lights that fucking shoot into the atmosphere. I don't know if I have a video of it or just a picture. Yeah, it's just a picture, but god damn it, look at this shit. Look at that. Look at them shoot up into the sky. Like a fucking laser beam. Look at this. Someone compared it to a fucking child's toy. Kind of does look like that. That's funny. Oh, how wonderful. Oh, is this another shot? Oh, wow. No, this is a different fucking venue. That must have been the same company that built this shit. That's pretty cool. Absolutely wonderful. Dana's trending on X right now, as he should be, because this is a fucking massive event. Okay, now here's an inside look. This was on the UFC Embedded today. There's going to be embeds all week, as usual. But the newest update that we got today is that the UFC set up fighter locker rooms inside the Eisenhower Executive Office building on the White House grounds. This is where the fighters will warm up before making the walk to the South Lawn. So let's have a looky-loo together.
EEOB building, the Eisenhower Executive Office building. One big across like this.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, cool. On a typical fight week, there's 8 to 12 people on site handling everything from hotel accommodations, workout room setups. So 7 fights. So at 8 o'clock's first fight, there should be 5 teams in here, which will be max, which would be about 20 bodies, which I think this is plenty. I mean, this is much larger than a lot of locker rooms we operate out of. The cutman room and the equipment room. Do you know where they're located?
The equipment room is right here.
Okay, so that's equipment right there.
And then
Yep. We just did a walkthrough of our function spaces for an event night and set up the 2 corners locker rooms, red and blue. There's obviously a lot more like ambiance in these rooms, a lot cooler looking, a lot more historic. This isn't like your typical locker room. Other than that, though, it should just be a regular fight night. It shouldn't be anything too out of the ordinary, which is what we're hoping for. You know, I hope once you get here, besides all the things around this room, you just feel like it's as regular of a fight night as it possibly can in this crazy situation. EEOB.
Yeah, dude, this is so fucking sick. Like, come on, man. How cool is that? Oh. Imagine being a fighter on this card, how fucking wonderful that must feel. I have another clip here. I don't know what this is. Dana White shows more detail, a more detailed view.
I will tell
Oh, and they've got music.
the production team exactly what I want.
We don't need to watch this, especially with that music there. Okay, the last thing I want to show before we get into our first segment of the day is of course the weather patterns. But don't be scared, because we'll cover that some more later, but let's take a look together. So, let me get that out of the way. What do we got here? Day, night. Okay, wow, there's so much going on here. Possibility of thunderstorms in the day, it's a 38% chance. Possibility of thunderstorms in the evening, 39% chance. So that's fairly low. Okay, cloud cover, 86%. That would actually be nice. It wouldn't be too hot. It doesn't look too shabby, if I'm reading this right. 71 degrees in the evening, 92 degrees in the day. I only speak in Celsius, so I'm not sure what the conversion is to that, because I'm a Canadian. But we're going to talk about the weather later on in the episode. Right now, I'm going to start things off by jumping into the main event of the evening, which is Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, okay? But I specifically want to talk about Ilia Topuria. It was the beginning of 2024 when Ilia Topuria really started to make his impact in the world of MMA. Now, if you're a fan of this sport, you already know who Ilia is. You already know what he is capable of. You know the things he has accomplished, the names he has beaten, and the terrifying way that he has beaten them. But this Sunday, we are about to witness one of the most unique, iconic, and exciting MMA events that has ever been held. And the man headlining it all is none other than Ilia Topuria. The whole world is going to tune in to watch this spectacle, but here is the crazy part. If you're not someone who follows MMA, if you're only watching because this event is happening at the White House, then you might have absolutely no idea who this man is. And that is insane. Because right now, Ilia Topuria's record stands at 17-0. He came into the UFC in 2020 and went on a 6-fight win streak from 2020 to 2023. Then in February of 2024, he got the opportunity to fight for the featherweight title against none other than Alexander Volkanovski. And nobody expected it to go the way that it did. Volkanovski was undefeated in the featherweight division. He had 4 consecutive title defenses. He was one of the greatest featherweights of all time, and even after losing to Islam Makhachev twice at lightweight, he was still the featherweight champion and had never lost in that division. Then Ilia Topuria stepped in there with him at UFC 298 and knocked him out cold in round 2. The world was absolutely shocked. But at the same time, not everybody was fully sold yet. A lot of people still weren't ready to say Ilia was something truly special, mostly because of the circumstances around Volk, He was coming off a quick turnaround after suffering the first knockout loss in his UFC career against Islam Makhachev. So even after knocking out one of the greatest featherweights of all time, Ilia still had to prove himself. And prove himself he did. Because in October of that same year, at UFC 308, Ilia was given the opportunity to defend his newly acquired featherweight title against Max Holloway. And at that time, Max Holloway was somehow an even bigger superstar than Volk. Since 2014, Max's only losses had come against Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier. He was on a legendary run. He was one of the most respected fighters in the entire sport. And not only that, he had just knocked out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 for the BMF title in the final second of the final round. That moment became instantly iconic. The point to the center of the octagon, the last second knockout, the kind of momentum fighters are still trying to recreate to this day. So of course fans knew this was the real test for Ilia Topuria. Max Holloway was considered one of the best boxers in the sport. He had never been knocked down once in his entire career, and before Volkanovski came into the mix, Max was the former featherweight champion himself with 4 title defenses under his belt. So surely this new Ilia guy didn't stand a chance, right? Wrong. Although Max survived longer than Volk did, he didn't make it that much longer. Ilia Topuria became the first person to not only knock Max Holloway down, but knock him out. A left hook followed by ground strikes in round 3. That was now 2 legends, 2 current or former Hall of Famers that Ilia had defeated by knockout back to back. And he made it look easy, as if it was nothing to him. That is when the MMA community really started to open its eyes and realize we might have a real problem on our hands, because that should not have been that clean. There were talks of Ilia becoming Fighter of the Year in 2024, and honestly, if it wasn't for Alex Pereira and the insane things that man was able to accomplish that year, Ilia probably would have taken that spot. But that brings us to Ilia's most recent fight, which took place in June of 2025. Charles Oliveira. At this point, Ilia had moved up to lightweight to try and claim a second world title in a second weight class. The original plan was rumored to be Islam Makhachev, but after months of speculation, Islam ended up vacating the lightweight title, moving up to welterweight, and claiming that belt. So now the lightweight title was completely vacant, which meant Ilia Topuria was facing Charles Oliveira for that title. And again, this is not just some random opponent. Charles Oliveira is another iconic, legendary, Hall of Fame level fighter who was still completely at an extreme high level. But the difference this time was that Oliveira brought something completely different to the table. Volk was one of the greatest all-around fighters ever. Max was one of the best boxers the sport had ever seen. But Charles Oliveira is a grappling master. One of the highest level jiu-jitsu fighters in UFC history, with the most submission wins the promotion has ever seen. So this was supposed to be the fight where Ilia had to deal with something new. This was supposed to be the fight where he had to prove he could handle danger on the ground. But guess what? It didn't matter. Ilia defeated Charles Oliveira quicker than he defeated both Volkanovski and Holloway. He clipped Oliveira with a right-left combination, followed up with hammer fist, while Charles was on the ground and finished him in round 1. We already knew Topuria was a force to be reckoned with, but after that it was fully solidified. 3 absolute legends back to back to back, all title fights, all finished by knockout, and he made easy work of all of them while they were still elite fighters in their prime. And at this point, you cannot deny this guy. And honestly, it is almost impossible to bet against him. And yet still, if you're someone tuning into this fight simply because it is happening at the White House, there is a good chance you have no idea who Ilia Topuria really is. And if that is you watching me say this right now, you need to understand how insanely rare and incredible it is to witness skill like this. We do not know what it looks like for Ilia Topuria to lose. If Volkanovski couldn't do it, if Holloway couldn't do it, and if Oliveira couldn't do it, is Justin Gaethje really the guy who can? And it's not even just the skill alone. Ilia has found the exact mindset required to win these fights. Leading up to the Oliveira fight, he threw himself a celebration party before the fight even happened. That is how confident he was. He already knew it was going to go his way. He even told Charles Oliveira that he was sorry it had to be him before they fought. And now, leading up to this fight with Justin Gaethje, he has taken things to an even crazier level. He staged a mock funeral for his former opponents, displaying pictures of them side by side with roses in front of them. Volkanovski, Holloway, and Oliveira. And right next to all of them was a picture of Justin Gaethje. Then Ilia brought out a white rose and placed it down beside Gaethje's photo. Not only to signify the metaphorical death of another opponent, but also because the white rose represents the White House, where they are about to fight. Absolutely cold savagery. Now, when Ilia fought Charles Oliveira, there was still a level of respect there. Charles is one of those guys that most people seem to like. Even when you're fighting him, it's hard to truly hate him. But this fight feels different. Ilia's going into this one with a completely different energy towards his opponent. He actually seems to dislike Justin Gaethje now, and in the first UFC embedded video, he even flipped him the birds, which, I got the clip right here, so let's take a looky-loo. Let's take a looky-loo.
Take this.
Whoopsies. Let's see here. Let's let this go away. Go away!
Take this, Justin. Take it. Actually, I thought he was a great guy, but since he crossed the personal line, he's not gonna have my respect. He's not gonna have my team's respect. All I'm gonna need is 2 minutes in the octagon with you. Then I'm gonna put you to sleep in front of your whole family, your country, in front of everyone. Take this.
Oh my lord, Justin, you better watch out, man. Now, he is referring to the things that Gaethje said specifically about him, which had initially started off with a tweet where Gaethje said, all that guy... Oh, actually, it wasn't a tweet. I think he literally just said it out loud. All that guy is a gimmick. He calls himself the king. He thinks he's a god. What an annoying little bastard. I couldn't imagine being in a room with him for 30 minutes listening to him talk about himself. Now, there was also like a face-to-face interview on the Pat McAfee show. And they were talking shit to each other there. But anyway, but now people are saying Justin Gaethje is fucked because Ilia feels like this one is personal. But let's be honest here. Justin Gaethje would have been fucked either way, okay? Whether or not it was made personal. I don't think this gives Ilia some extra motivation that he didn't already have. He doesn't need it. Because if Ilia Topuria is going to fight you, like I said, that's all he needs. The confirmation that the fight is happening is enough. And once that cage door closes, guess what? He's coming to destroy. So what do you think? Is Gaethje going to get it done? Or is Ilia Topuria going to get it done? Don't base your information off everything I said. Maybe look into Gaethje first. Because even though the odds are skewed heavily into Ilia Topuria's favor, anything can happen. And that's what makes fighting so exciting. Now, before we move on to the next segment, let's go ahead and eat some food because I'm hungry. I'm just kidding. Let's look at some other news here before we move on to the next segment. Okay, so there's a tweet here. We don't need to get into that. That's just like drama bullshit. But this was interesting. I have a clip here of Ilia Topuria making a little predict. I haven't seen this yet, but it says, Ilia Topuria says he has a video of his prediction that he will release after he knocks out Justin Gaethje in round 1. Now, that is cool. If he actually knocks him out in round 1 and then releases whatever he has, fantastic. But let's watch him actually confirming it right now.
Así que vamos, yo digo que la victoria ya es mía, yo ya he ganado en el primer asalto, el 14 de julio simplemente vamos a revelar el video que todo el mundo va a ver, de cómo ganó ese combate. Así que vamos.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually Conor McGregor shit. We always talk about how Ilia Topuria is emulating Conor McGregor, okay? If he knocks out Justin Gaethje in round 1, the way that he thinks he's going to do it, which he hasn't said how he's going to do it. Of course, he won't say that. And then he releases that video, and it is correct. I'm going to shit my pants. I will absolutely shit my pants. Now, we all heard the drama around the whole Sean Strickland situation, where you know, it was said that Sean Strickland was banned, but now Dana's coming out and saying he's not banned, he was just never invited. We don't need to get into all that. That doesn't matter. But looks like Sean Strickland was initially on Justin Gaethje's side, but now he's actually on Ilia Topuria's side. And if you want the full details as to what's going on between Sean Strickland and Justin Gaethje, look it up yourself. I have enough things to talk about. I don't even need to get into that. But this tweet here just solidifies the fact that Sean Strickland is on Ilia Topuria's side. Ilia Topuria tweeted, Justin crossed the line. What happened between my ex-wife and me is our business. We may no longer be together, but she is the mother of my daughter. To everyone insulting her or speaking about things they know nothing about, show some respect. There was more there, but then Sean Strickland replies, You need to teach Justin Gaethje how to act like a man. Who would have thought Sean Strickland would go against the American on the White House card, huh? But here we are. Things change quick. Now, since we're still on the topic of Ilia Topuria, for filming for some stuff, I don't know if it was for Topuria himself or for an embedded video. It was probably for embedded. I don't know. Nah, maybe not. Probably just for himself. Ilia Topuria was seen, you know, in D.C., of course, as everyone is, doing some training outside by a tree. Let's mute that. You see his kids here. He's doing some punchy. People are filming. Pretty cool. Dude, every time I see videos like this, it gets me so fucking stoked. I'm generally excited for numbered events. But, like, this brings me back. This brings me back to, like, when it was, like, you know, just getting into it and being like, oh, my God, like, it's extra exciting. And I'm sorry I keep repeating that, but I love that we can still have that feeling. I absolutely love that. Okay, now we're going to move on to the second segment. The second and final segment of the day. Then we're going to go into some more news and notes as to what's going on. And then we got to do my fight predictions. Okay? And as the week plays out, there's going to be more and more news being released. So stay on top of this shit. Because who knows what's going to happen next. All right? But it's fucking exciting. Okay. Segment 2. If nobody else is going to promote this the proper way, then I guess I will. Because it still blows my mind that unless you are specifically following the UFC, nobody knows who these guys are. These men are fighting at the fucking White House. Do I need to make it any more clear? There should be some sort of recognition for the fighters themselves. I mean, come on. Nobody knows who anyone on this card is except maybe, slightly, possibly Justin Gaethje because of the Max Holloway fight on UFC 300. And I'm not talking about fans of the UFC. I'm not even talking about casuals. I'm talking about the other people that are gathering to this event simply because of the spectacle. They don't know anybody. And for that exact reason, I'm about to give you a baseline entry into not only one of my favorite fighters, but a man who is potentially going to create history this Sunday evening. And if you are already aware of this man and the things he has accomplished, then skip ahead to the end of this segment. This clip is not for you. But if you are not aware, then absolutely pay attention. Because many fighters have come and gone throughout the UFC, and only a select few have made a real impact outside of the organization. Conor McGregor, Chuck Liddell, Brock Lesnar, John Jones, GSP, Anderson Silva, you get my point. Very specific individuals. But who can we point to currently? Right now as we sit here and speak to one another, who has made an impact like those men? Surely there is not anyone who is known globally outside the UFC fan base like those men were. But there is someone other than Topuria who fits that criteria. And that man is none other than Poetan himself, Alex Pereira. A man who has accomplished amazing feats since joining the UFC, and still to this day is doing things that no one thought would ever be possible. And to do it on the White House lawn makes it that much more special. But before we get into that, let's step back a little bit. Before the UFC, and before martial arts altogether, Alex grew up in a favela in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He dropped out of middle school and worked as a bricklayer's assistant for many years, before later transitioning to a tire shop, where he also spent many years. Eventually, he developed a drinking problem and became a severe alcoholic. It was not until around the age of 20 years old that Alex actually decided he needed to make a change in his life. The alcohol was ruining everything, and he was worried for his future. So in 2009, he began training in kickboxing in order to help get rid of his addiction. And it did not take long for him to develop a real skill in the sport. He excelled immediately in the amateur boxing scene with 25 wins, all by knockout, and just 3 losses. And after proceeding into his professional kickboxing career, this is where he truly began to shine within the combat sports world. He began winning multiple championships in multiple organizations. He fought names such as Cesar Almeida, Dustin Jacoby, and of course, Israel Adesanya twice. After entering into an organization named Glory Kickboxing, he excelled rapidly. He won his debut, then lost to a man by the name of Yusri Belgaru, who has recently joined the UFC and is now part of Pereira's training camps. But after that loss, Alex went on to win the Glory Middleweight Championship. And not only did he win the title, he avenged his loss to Belgaru by defeating him twice back-to-back. Pereira defended the middleweight title 4 times, then fought for the light heavyweight title, won, and became Glory's first ever 2-time simultaneous champion. He then defended the middleweight title once, had 1 LFA fight, then came back to unify the light heavyweight title after leaving. And he did it against a guy by the name of Artem Vakitev. After winning that fight by split decision. He won that fight by split decision. And then he lost the title in an immediate rematch with Artem. And now remember that name because we will bring it up again later. But before that loss, he was on an 11-fight win streak with 9 of those fights being title fights. That loss was not any sort of downfall for Pereira because he was immediately signed to the UFC. He won his first 3 fights in the UFC, 2 by knockout and 1 by decision. And all of those were at middleweight. His third fight was against none other than Sean Strickland, who is the current middleweight champion, and Alex knocked him out in round 1. Something nobody has ever done, even to this day, to Strickland. That win against Strickland allowed Pereira to fight for the title against a former rival who he had already defeated twice in kickboxing. And no, it was not Belgaru. It was Israel Adesanya. You see, after Israel Adesanya finished his kickboxing career, he joined the UFC 3 years prior to Pereira, and he excelled quickly. He worked his way up the rankings, and after winning 4 out of 4 fights in the UFC, he fought the legend Anderson Silva, winning by unanimous decision. That allowed him to fight for the interim middleweight title against Kevin Gastelum. He won and then unified the title against Robert Whittaker. And after that, he continued to win at middleweight, defending the title 6 times in a row. His only loss was after his 3rd title defense, when he tried to move up to light heavyweight to claim 2 titles. But as it sat at middleweight, he was completely undefeated, with 6 title defenses. A 12-fight win streak overall. Essentially completely undefeated and already at absolute legendary status within just 4 years. That was until Alex Pereira stepped up to the plate and did what everyone assumed was impossible. 2 former kickboxing rivals finally stood face to face once again. 1 Glory Kickboxing 2-time champ and 1 UFC champ with 6 title defense and a 12-fight win streak, former Glory Kickboxer. And Alex finished the job in round 5, knocking Izzy out with a TKO from standing punches, becoming the new middleweight champion after only 5 fights in the UFC. Defeating someone who nobody thought would ever lose, at least not yet. But of course, Israel would be allowed to have his revenge. They booked the rematch the following year, and sure enough, Israel defeated the boogeyman, Alex Pereira, in round 2 with a counter right knockout. But here is the thing about Alex Pereira. Every time he gets knocked out, he comes back even stronger. He achieves only greatness after a loss, and he excels higher than where he ever was before. The weight cut at middleweight was becoming a lot for him, and he knew it was time to do the same thing that he did in Glory. Move up a weight class. So he defeated Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight, the man who Israel fought at light heavyweight and couldn't win. But Alex won via decision, which immediately allowed him to fight for the light heavyweight title against none other than Jiří Procházka. He knocked out Jiří, won the light heavyweight title, got the call to headline UFC 300, one of the biggest cards ever, and he knocked out Jamal Hill in the main event, got another call the same year to save UFC 303 after McGregor had to back out, and once again, it was against Jiří, and he knocked him out in round 2. Then he fought again that same year against Khalil Roundtree Jr. and knocked him out in round 4. He was now a former middleweight UFC champ and the current light heavyweight champ with 3 title defenses under his belt. The UFC could absolutely not be happier with the skill that they had acquired. This man would and still will take a fight with anyone on the planet at any time whenever it is offered and succeed beyond what anyone expects. Then in March of 2025, he was set to fight Magomed Ankalaev to defend his title for the 4th time. And unfortunately, he had been dealing with some medical issues such as norovirus and a leg injury at the time. And he went into that fight with those conditions. It was Pereira's most boring fight to date. Mostly clenches against the cage the entire time, and he ended up losing via decision in the end. But fortunately for him, he got the rematch in October and was back to his normal self once again, knocking Ankalaev out in round 1 with an overhand right to grounded elbows. It was absolutely glorious to see. This man is back on top where he belongs. And now here we are. June of 2026. White House lawn. Remember how I said Alex comes back stronger after his losses and excels greater than ever before? Well, this is it. He is about to do not only the unthinkable, but something that literally no other UFC fighter has ever accomplished in the entire 30 years of this organization. The oldest and most notorious MMA organization to ever exist has never had a 3-division champion, not even once. And now this Sunday, Alex Pereira vacates his light heavyweight title, moves up to heavyweight, and is fighting for the first time at heavyweight to claim what is his and make history in the process on many levels. And he will be going up against Ciryl Gane, the man who I poked the current heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, causing the fight to go to a no contest and putting the champ on hold for recovery. So the interim title is on the line between Alex and Ciryl Gane, and the winner will unify the belt against Tom Aspinall. And remember how I said Artem Vakitov was the last man to defeat Alex in Glory Kickboxing before he left? Well, Ciryl brought Artem into his camp to help him prepare for this fight. Alex Pereira was the first man to claim 2 simultaneous belts in Glory. He earned 2 UFC titles within 3 years of the organization. He defended the light heavyweight title 3 times against the top of the division with 2 last-minute notice fights. He lost the title, then got it back immediately within the same year, 10 wins, 2 losses in the UFC, with 8 of those fights being title fights. And now, for the first time ever, he is chasing a 3rd UFC division title at the White House, and yet the world does not know about this man. The UFC has not promoted this man enough or shown the world what he has accomplished and what he is about to accomplish, which is the biggest problem in the sport right now, star power. Because as myself, someone who follows the sport religiously, I know how big of a star Alex is, but he is only a star within the organization. Outside of that, he is damn near completely unknown. And that is truly a shame. Because if I ask the majority of people on the street who Chuck Liddell, GSP, or John Jones is, they would probably know. But most, if not the majority, would not know Alex Pereira. And they really should. But maybe this is the event that finally makes that difference. Maybe this is the moment where the rest of the world finally understands what UFC fans have already known for years. Alex Pereira is not just another champion. He's not just another striker. He's not just another name on the card. He is one of the most unique fighters the sport has ever seen. A man who used martial arts to save his life. A man who became a 2-division champion in glory. A man who followed his greatest rival into the UFC, knocked him out, and became middleweight champion in only 5 fights. A man who moved up, became the light heavyweight champion, defended that belt against killers, lost it, took it back, and then decided that even that was not enough. And now, on the White House lawn, he's about to try and become the first 3-division champion in UFC history. I can't stress this enough. This is not normal. This is not common. That is not something you just casually throw on a poster and hope people figure it out. This is history. And if Alex pulls this off, then whether the world knows his name right now or not, they are going to have no choice but to learn it. Poeton, Alex Pereira, this Sunday, White House lawn, heavyweight gold on the line, and potentially UFC history. Let's hope to fuck he beats Ciryl Gane. Let's hope to fuck he beats Ciryl Gane. Because if he doesn't, I will cry. I will be a miserable puddle of messy shit. I'll be sitting in my shit. Okay, and since we're on the topic of Alex Pereira, we talked about the fact that he was middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. Well, about to be heavyweight champ. This is an image of what he has looked like throughout the divisions. So this is him at 185 pounds, this is him at 205, and this is him at 258. Woo, man, look at this boy. Now the transformation, the fact that he was able to accomplish this is incredible. I wonder if anybody else will try to do something like this. I'm sure we will see it. Maybe Khamzat. Who knows? But another person who is making history on this card is actually the man who is opening up the night tonight, Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes gets really special treatment in the UFC, and it's understandable. He is good, and he's a unique character, and he's worth watching. But he has been on UFC 300. He was at Noche, the Sphere event, and now he is also at the White House. He was in Noche 2 years in a row. He fought for the title twice, back to back. Like, the guy is just getting all these amazing, amazing opportunities. It's wonderful and kind of whack at the same time, but just keep that in mind. Another nice juicy fact that we have to consider when we are watching this event. Now, I had talked about Actually, speaking of Noche, remember the Noche card? As the fights played out, they were telling the history of Mexico because it was Mexico Independence Day. So I guess for this event, as the fights play out, there will be segments telling the history of America because, that's Freedom 200. So that'll be fun and interesting. Hopefully they don't harp on it too much and drag it out, which I don't think they will. But we had talked about the weather. Okay, the weather might be an issue. Now, Dana initially said, like a couple weeks ago, that the only issue that would cause them problems would have been thunder. But there was just a media press conference today, and it just ended not too long ago. It was going all day. And, obviously someone asked about the weather, and he had this to say.
How often are you checking the weather reports?
Not at all. Like Borsari's all over. The Borsari, my head of production, is like the most OCD guy on the planet, and we're going to be good on Sunday. I mean, if you read the internet, the fucking whole show is getting shut down on Sunday. But I don't care if it snows, rains, whatever. We're going, and even lightning. You guys all played, sports when you were growing up. Whenever there was lightning, you'd set the lightning out, and then when it was over, you played. I mean, that's what we'll do. And if there would be lightning, we'd know it days before. So, and then we would work around it.
How often are you checking the weather?
And so he's saying even if there's lightning, it fucking show's a go, dude. Now, he is saying we'll sit it out, but God, let's just hope that there's no fucking lightning and none of the other stuff. I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it. We don't want anything bad to happen. No bad stuff. Now, he talked about his executive producer, Borsari. Now, Borsari actually got on the fucking media press conference, and he covered this topic as well. So why don't we take a listen to what he had to say?
Side, what's the Paramount Plus contingency plan if the card is interrupted mid-fight?
So we have a few options. One is to stay on air, and we do have contingency planning where we can remain on air and continue to broadcast from a location close by the South Lawn. And if we feel like a weather pattern's coming in that will pass through and we can resume, we will. So we would not leave the broadcast. We would just fill and report from site, and then it's a bit of an evaluation. So when we're going through that, we'll be, talking regularly to a meteorologist who's right now on site giving us updates. We'll figure out, what does this window look like? Do we have the ability to resume? Or what is the extent of the weather front that's coming through?
On the broadcast.
Wonderful. See, this is obviously they got it all planned out. Of course they do, So it looks like if there is a weather pattern that's going to fuck things up, they will still keep the broadcast going and fill in the time, I guess, and keep us updated. I'm just so curious how this is all going to look. Oh, there's so much other shit that we could talk about, but I'm not going to get into it because there's so much. That's like the broad basics. Okay, we don't need to get into the drama. Especially, like, Alex Pereira was obviously at the media day, and he was saying he heard some things about Josh Hokit, saying, I don't know if he's going to be a part of this organization going forward. It may not even be worth talking about him because I don't think he's going to be here. There's a huge audience that watches the UFC. There are children, families, and a lot of things that he says and does are just very disrespectful. I just don't know about this take. There's no way the UFC would cut Josh Hokit because of the things that he says. That's not the way Dana White works, okay? There's a lot of there's things that you might not agree with when it comes to the things that Dana says or does. But he would never, ever get rid of a fighter because of the way they talk. Ever, 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 ever. If they can win in fights and they're good, they're staying. That's one of the beauties of the way that he does things. Now, we're going to get into my fight predictions. So this is my fight prediction sheet for UFC 250. I make fight prediction sheets every single card, whether it's a fight night or a numbered event. And I'm probably going to start making them for the Contender Series as well. These are available for you and your family and your friends. Link is in the description or in the bio. They are completely free. Download them and print them off. If you don't know what they are, well, let's get into it right now. So as you can see, there's a box for every fight of the night. Let's zoom in to Hokit versus Lewis to take a look at what we got going on here. So before the night begins, you check off pick for the fighter you want to win, and whoever actually wins, you check off the winner box. Okay? Now if you look at this box, it gives you everything you need to know when making your decision. It's got the weight class, the names, the fight record, the Vegas betting odds, the nickname, pictures of the fighters, the country of origin flag, and the ranking up here in these boxes. So even if you're not a fight fan and you print these off for family members or whoever, they can still have shit to go off of when making their picks. It just makes it a little bit more fun for everybody and easy to use. Now, there's also statistics on the side here. It tells you where the event is here. And there's also white boxes along the sides and underneath to take notes, if you so choose. Okay? Oh, fuck, I forgot to tally up the score at the end here. I forgot to add that. That's normally supposed to be in here. See, this is a custom one I had to make for UFC Freedom 250. They normally are landscape mode. Fuck, I gotta fix that. I gotta add that. I'll add that later. Alexa, can you remind me tomorrow at 9 a.m. to add the name and fighter count box? Okay, so let's get into my fight predictions. We only have 7 fights. Normally there's up to 14 fights potentially on a card. But this is basically a main card. So we're getting all bangers. Okay, you might not know these guys, or you might only know some of them. You might not know any of them. Trust me, this is a banger fucking card. Absolute banger. If this was a main card on any normal numbered event, we'd be like, holy fucking shit. This is incredible. Okay, I don't give a shit what you think. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so let me get my stars up. Bop-a-da-boop. Okay, so here's the thing about these fights, though. The other thing that I need to talk about. Normally, on a UFC card, the matchups are set in a way where it's pretty even or balanced to some degree. Yeah, there might be the odd fight where it's heavily favored in one way or the other. I'd say damn near every fight on this card, except for maybe the first fight, is heavily favored in one direction. Kind of. We'll talk about it. So I'm worried that my picks are going to all skew in the direction of the favorite. But let's see. We're going to go through it live, and I'm going to actually pull up the UFC Freedom 250 Tapology so we can actually look at these guys' career, because this is what I do to help me actually make picks. Is I take a look at the record, I take a look at the fights that they've had, I take a look at how old they are. There's lots of factors at play, but Tapology really allows you to dive deep. Okay, so first fight of the night, we've got Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia. Now, I already mentioned Diego Lopes and how he kind of gets the special treatment. But let's take a look at his profile here. So he's 27-8-0, fantastic record. He's only 31. Okay, still got a long time to go. You know, he's kind of 50-50 with his wins and submission, with his knockout and submission wins. He sometimes wins by decision, but it's surprisingly mostly by submission. But you know, see, he's had lots of fights in his career. He's even won belts in other organizations, but that doesn't really matter. What you really want to focus on is how they look when they get into the UFC, because that makes a huge difference. It really does. Okay, so his fucking debut fight into the UFC was against Movzar. Now, if you know Movzar, that's a tough fight. Movzar's still undefeated. Anyway, so he lost to Movzar. It was by unanimous decision, but then he went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight win streak. Now, if you remember, like I said, so he fought on UFC 300. Then he fought on UFC 303, which, by the way, I forgot to mention this. He was originally supposed to fight Brian Ortega on that card, but Brian Ortega had to back out 4 hours before that fight was supposed to happen, and Dan Ige came in on 4 hours' notice to fight Diego. And it was kind of close, but Diego ended up winning. But anyway, then Diego did end up fighting Brian Ortega on 306. Okay. Then he gets a title shot against Alex, loses. Then he fights John Silva on UFC Noche, not at the Sphere. The O'Malley one, UFC 306, was at the Sphere. But he wins against John Silva, looked fantastic. Then gets another shot at the title against Alex, doesn't win. So his only 3 losses in the UFC are against Movzar and Alexander Volkanovski, which if you're going to lose, those are the guys to lose to. So Diego's fucking fantastic. And he's damn near won some sort of bonus in every one of his fights. On the John Silva one, he won both fight and performance of the night. Okay? Now, if we look at Steve Garcia, you're probably not familiar with Steve Garcia at all. Okay? He's a name that, I barely know. And I'm not saying I'm a professional or anything, but I follow the sport religiously and I watch every single fucking event. Now, Steve Garcia is 19-5-0. He's 34. Only wins by knockout or sometimes by decision. He's never won by submission. He's 8-2 in the UFC. And if we scroll back here, he had a knockout win on the Contender Series. And then he had an LFA fight. And then he lost his debut. Had a win, had a loss. And now he is currently on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak. He has somewhat notable names like Melky Costa, Sung Moo Choi, Kyle Nelson, Calvin Guitar, like David Onama. Those are kind of good names, but it's nothing compared to what Diego has fought against. And also, I guess he does have somewhat of a lengthy career. But Diego has a little bit more experience. He's won belts, and he's been around the block a bit longer, it seems like. Steve Garcia is no slouch, but I just gotta think it's going to be Diego Lopes here. So I'm going to have to go for Diego on this one. Now, next up, we have Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus. Now, talk about Diego getting special treatment. Bo Nickal is another guy who gets his own sort of treatment. All right, so why don't we just pull up Bo Nickal here and Kyle Daukaus. Kyle Daukaus has an interesting story as well. So Bo Nickal, he was a D1 wrestler. Many wrestling matches. He even wrestled with Josh Hokit back in the day and won against him. But he was known for his wrestling. Okay, and then he comes in. It's similar to like the Gable Steveson sort of thing, sort of like a protege outside of the UFC, and they really want this guy to succeed in the UFC, so they really push him. So he got his Contender Series fight. He actually had 2 Contender Series fights back to back and won them both in round 1 with a rear naked choke and then a triangle choke. So then his second Contender Series fight is when he got his contract. So then he had a win over Jamie Pickett. Then he had a win over Val Woodburn. And then they put him on the main card of UFC 300 ahead of Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka was on the prelims. He was the featured prelim. And fucking Bo Nickal was ahead of Yuri fucking Prochazka on the main card of UFC 300. So it was like, why the fuck are they putting this guy on here? But anyway, he was there and he won via rear naked choke in round 2. Then he fought Paul Craig, won again, and then there was that controversial loss here where everyone was like, oh man, you look like absolute shit. Because the way he lost to Renner de Ridder. He got that knee to the body and then immediately just like collapsed and gave up. And then RDR just finished him. And then, of course, we saw what happened to RDR. He gave up in his next fight. So it was like a back-to-back sort of thing. But anyway, then Bo Nickal redeemed himself because he came back for UFC 322, which was fucking a fantastic card. Oh, it was my favorite card last year. Anyway, he came back, fought Rodolfo Vieira, and fucking knocked him out with a head kick in round 3, something nobody expected Bo Nickal was even capable of. This guy was a wrestler. And he comes in here and fucking head kicks Rodolfo Vieira? Like, what the fuck? But he did it, and that was his very last fight. That was the last time that we've seen Bo Nickal. Okay? So you got to remember, Bo Nickal is a wrestler. That's what he's known for. But since he's come into the UFC, and especially in that Renner de Ridder fight where he lost to the knee to the body, and his only loss in the UFC, he was really trying to strike. Okay, he wasn't utilizing his wrestling. He was trying to impress people by using his striking. Now, he has had a win. His second win, as we said, against Val Woodburn in the UFC was a knockout in round 1. But the rest of his fights were either decision or submission. Okay? We're not going to talk about the amateur bouts. So his most recent fight, as I just said, was the head kick in round 3 against Rodolfo. So you don't know what Bo's going to do. You don't know what... You would think Bo would use his wrestling because that's what he excels at. All right? But here's the thing. He is now going up against Kyle Daukaus, okay? Now let's talk about Kyle Daukaus. He is 17-4-0. Oh, I spit on my monitor here. Yeah, this is a long episode, but that's okay. He is only 33 years old. Now, how old's Bo again? Let me look this up. Bo's 30. Okay, so they're pretty close. So Kyle Daukaus, 33 years old. Now look at Kyle Daukaus. 71% of his wins are by submission. He's only won twice by knockout, and he's won 3 times by decision. Okay? Crazy, crazy stuff. Now, I know you'll look at this and you'll say 4-4 in the UFC, but let's just talk about Kyle Daukaus here. Okay? So, as we can see, Kyle Daukaus is a submission boy. He loves to submit. So, Kyle Daukaus, back in 2019, won his Contender Series fight by decision. Did not get signed to the UFC. Oh! My monitor just shut down. There, it's back. Okay. He was in CFFC before that. So because he didn't get signed, he continued to defend his title that he already had in CFFC, defended it twice, and then got signed to the UFC. His debut was against Brendan Allen. We all know who Brendan Allen is. We saw him fight last weekend, and he's number 5 in the rankings. I don't know if that changed since. Probably hasn't. So Brendan Allen as your debut, that's tough. Okay, but then he won against Dustin Stolfus, then lost to Phil Hawes, then had a no contest against Kevin Holland, then had a win, couple losses, then he got cut. He got cut from the UFC. Okay, so he went back to CFFC, got his belt back, defended it again a couple times, and now he's back into the UFC once again. Had a fucking sick win against Michel Pereira with a knockout. Then had another sick fucking Darce choke win against Gerald Meerschaert. And that was also on UFC 322. The same card that Bo Nickal was on that had that sick fucking head kick knockout. Okay? That whole card was amazing. And 2 of the reasons why was because of both Bo Nickal and Kyle Daukaus. So Kyle Daukaus had his dream of getting in the UFC. He got cut from the UFC. He's now back in the UFC. Has proven himself as a great fucking submission artist. And by the way, his nickname is the Darce Knight. So we now have a wrestling expert and a grappling expert going head-to-head on this White House card, i.e. Bo Nickal and Kyle Daukaus. So you'd have to imagine that Bo Nickal is going to use his wrestling skills in this fight. This has to go to the ground. There's no way this fight doesn't go to the ground. And you know what? If it doesn't, then you both better stand up and give us a great show, and we'll just see who wins. I don't know how it's going to happen, because they could have that mindset too. They're thinking, we're at the White House. Why the fuck would we go to the ground? Let's make a show out of this. That could happen too. So again, this is another tough one to pick from. But if we look at the actual Vegas betting odds, Bo Nickal is a decent-sized favorite. This may have changed by now. The odds change like crazy. But man, do we want to go with the Darce Knight or do we want to go with the Nickinator? That's a close one. Now, Bo Nickal is one of Donald Trump's favorite fighters as well. Same with Derrick Lewis. You know, that's another reason why they're both on this card. Man, I really could see Kyle Daukaus taking the win here. Holy shit, this is hard to vote. Man, this is a fucking tough one. Absolutely tough. Because I don't want to pick the favorites for every single fight, but I might have to. Fuck, this sucks. Ah. And they're both Americans, so it's like, shit, dude. Fuck me. Do I want to just go for Kyle Daukaus on this? Oh, my God. Can Kyle Daukaus do it? Of course he can. Jesus Christ. Oh, no. I'm going to go for Bo. Fuck you. I'm going for Bo. All right, next up we got Mauricio Ruffy versus Michael Chandler. And look at the betting odds on this one. Okay? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Or so we think. Okay? Because we know Mauricio Ruffy is a former fighting nerd. He no longer associates with them. He has left. And you would think because of the fact that he is Brazilian, he would be great at jiu-jitsu. But guess what? At 29 years of age, he has never won by submission, and he has only won by decision once. When he does win, it is only by knockout. All right? Ruffy is amazing. Since Ruffy was in the UFC, he has only won except when it came to Benoit Saint-Denis. Because Benoit Saint-Denis was able to get him to the ground and get him in a rear naked choke / face crank and ended him. It looked like Ruffy had no way of stopping that submission, which is obviously a skill that he lacks in. But when he can really show his striking, oh my God, it is impressive. This guy only wins by knockout, as we can see. Okay? Wins his Contender Series fight by ground and pound, round 3. Jamie Mullarkey, round 1, flying knee and punches. Okay? He has one decision win. But then, of course, on UFC 313, that amazing spinning heel kick in round 1 against King Green. Oh, I love that kick. But then he lost to Benoit. But then he won in round 2 against Rafael Fiziev. Okay? Again, by knockout. Now we take a look at Michael Chandler. The man who was supposed to fight Conor McGregor however many times in a row, never ever happened. He's 23-10. Former Bellator fucking champion. Fucking did amazing in that organization. But the second he came to UFC, didn't do so great. And as you can see, the man is 40 years of age. Absolutely ready for retirement. But another man who gets special treatment. Man, when you really think about these guys get special treatment. But anyway. So we don't need to look at his Bellator career, but I'll just quickly scan through it. He mostly fought in Bellator. title holder, multiple defended the title multiple times, lost it, got it back, defended it again, multiple times. Like, the guy was great in Bellator, but the second he got to the UFC, he had a win over Dan Hooker, then lost to Charles Oliveira, lost to Justin Gaethje. Whoops. Had that nice front head kick to Tony Ferguson, but then lost to Dustin Poirier, lost to Charles Oliveira, lost to Paddy Pimblett. And then, he is a wrestler, so he fought in RAF, or wrestled in RAF, and won against Chad Mendes, but that doesn't count, okay? So what I'm trying to get at here is, even though he's had all these losses, even though he's at retirement age, and you would like to think that Mauricio Ruffy is going to absolutely cream Michael Chandler with some sort of knockout, especially with those crazy betting odds that are skewed heavily in Mauricio Ruffy's favor, you would like to think that maybe the All-American wrestler, one of the few fighters on this card who bleeds red, white, and blue, a true American, could somehow prove himself as a huge underdog, someone who has had a bad run ever since he joined the organization, could possibly come out and show that he can get it done. The only way he can do that is if he wrestles. And is he going to do that? Because Michael Chandler's so unpredictable. Just like Bo Nickal. You never know what this motherfucker's going to do. He always fucking does some crazy shit. He's just wild out there. You want him to wrestle, but he wants to put on a show. He's all about performances, putting on shows. So I don't know if he's going to even bother trying to wrestle. I think he's going to go out there and strike, and he's going to get knocked the fuck out, probably in round 1 against Mauricio Ruffy. And I'd be fine with that because I like Mauricio Ruffy. But at this point, to try to go out there and be like, you know what, maybe Michael Chandler will do this. I can't take that risk. I cannot. So I just have to go again for the favorite, Mauricio Ruffy. Which fucking, I hate doing this, but that's the way we got to do it. And now, of course, we got the heavyweight bout, or one of the heavyweight bouts, Hokit versus Lewis. Jesus Christ. Okay. So Josh Hokit, as we know, very new into the UFC, but has made a hell of an impact. He's 9-0, 28 years old. Whoops. Wins by KO, has won by submission a few times, and has had one submission win. But look, he hasn't even really been fighting that long in general. Fought in Bellator, fought in LFA. Won his Contender Series fight by knockout. First fight, knockout. Second fight, knockout. And then, of course, the Curtis Blades was a decision win, but it was a fucking unbelievable war. He won both the Fight of the Night and Performance of the Night bonus, of course. One of the greatest heavyweight fights we've seen in a long time. So the guy is good. He has really proven himself in a short span of time. And he's very young still. He's 28. But the guy is a goofy motherfucker. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up any clip of him. He plays these characters. Okay, and then of course we've got Derrick Lewis, the other man. You know, Donald Trump likes, there's really 3 fighters that Donald Trump is in love with. 1 is Khabib, 2 is Bo Nickal, and 3rd is Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast. Now, Derrick Lewis is a vet. He's been in the game for a long time. 29-13. Has the most knockouts in UFC history. He's 41 years old. Yeah, the guy only wins by knockout. And when he does, it's exciting. But he's getting up there in age, and he's losing more often than not. And his last fight against Waldo, he just looked terrible and completely gave up. Completely gave up. So I'm not saying that's going to happen this fight, but it's just Derrick Lewis has been in it for so long now, since 2013. It's so hard to determine what this man's going to do or how he's going to look out there. But just based off of what we've seen recently, based off of the momentum that Josh Hokit has right now, I have to go for Josh Hokit. Now, again, any of these fights can go any way. But they're so skewed, man. Now, of course, we've got O'Malley versus Zahabi. Now, Zahabi's a Canadian, and so am I. So I would like to go for him. But can I? I don't know, dude. Like I said, I think all my picks are going to be favorites, and I hate doing that. Now, if there's one fighter who actually does have star power and someone that you probably have known, even if you're not a fan of the UFC, is Sean O'Malley. Because why? Because of his pink hair. Now, Sean O'Malley is 19-3-0, fantastic record, 31 years of age. Again, knockout boy. Okay? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Crazy Contender Series win. That was that famous viral clip where Snoop Dogg saw him do it. And he win. Then he lost to Cheeto Vera. Then went on a crazy win streak. Got the belt against Aljo. Avenged his loss to Cheeto. And then lost the belt to Merab. And then lost to Merab again. But now he's come back with a win against Song Yadong. And now we're seeing him going up against Aiemann Zahabs. So, but the thing is, like, Aiemann Zahabi, his coach, wow, his nickname's Iceman? I didn't know that. His coach, did I write that in here? I did not. That's his nickname? Why is that his nickname? That's crazy. Iceman. That's fucked up. With 2 N's, too. His coach is Firas Zahabi, which is his brother, who was also the coach of GSP. So Firas Zahabi actually Aiemann Zahabi not only trains with Firas, but he also trains with GSP, and GSP is going to be cornering Aiemann Zahabi as well. It's confirmed. Now, Aiemann is 14-2-0. Pretty great record, but he's 38. Which is crazy. He's pushing up there in age, and he is trying to get that title. He is itching for it. Okay? Kind of wins all over the place, but right now, look at his record. You know, his his second and his third fight in the UFC, he lost. But he is currently on a 7-fight win streak. His last 2 wins were against Cheeto Vera and Jose Aldo. His last 4 fights were all won by decision. And he didn't look the greatest in these fights. It looked like he was just like wildly, doing whatever it took to kind of survive. Like it looked like he was a terrified animal just trying to survive out there. So if he fights that way against Sean O'Malley, like I could see him losing. So fuck me again. Like I gotta go for Sean O'Malley. This is fucked up, dude. God, I hate doing this. Now I know everybody's saying Alex at heavyweight's gonna be tough because Ciryl Gane's so quick and he's so much bigger and he's been at heavyweight. He's fought for the title multiple times. He's gonna have the better chance. Fuck that. I am not voting for Ciryl Gane. I don't give a shit. I don't even need to look at the records, and we're not going to because we already talked about these guys enough. It's Alex or nothing, dude. All right? Now, for whatever reason, Ciryl Gane does win. I will be devastated, of course. But at least that hopefully, and I say hopefully, means that Ciryl Gane will get the rematch against Tom Aspinall. That's the only silver lining about Ciryl Gane winning. Other than that, I will be fucking furious if this guy wins. Let Alex win and fucking flush Ciryl Gane down the toilet. I don't ever want to look at this man again. I don't even want to see him fight for a title again. He's had way too many fucking shots. More than anyone ever deserves. Get him out of here. I don't like him. I strongly dislike this man. Not only what he did to Tom, but the way he fights. He's an eye poker. Every single one of his fights, he pokes the eye. That's what he does. Okay, now, of course, course, the main event. We talked about Topuria. I haven't even talked about Gaethje at all. Okay? But look at the betting odds. We know what Gaethje's capable of, but let's just take a quick gander. Because Gaethje, although he's getting up there in age as well, okay, this man is 27-5-0. He's 37 years old. Okay? Before the UFC, completely undefeated in amateur and professional bouts. He was on like an 18-fight win streak. He defended the World Series of Fighting belt 5 times in a row. He had a couple losses in the beginning of his career, but just non-stop fight bonuses. Wins the, interim title against Tony Ferguson. Then, of course, loses to Khabib. Again, win. Wins the BMF title against Dustin Poirier. Loses it to Max Holloway, of course. He has all these names on his record. Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, Edson Barboza, Donald Cerrone, Tony Ferguson, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, Rafael Fiziev, Max Holloway, Paddy Pimblett. Like, the guy has fought everybody. Okay? Even winning the interim title. Again. Against Paddy Pimblett. Like, the guy is just relentless. He basically wins a fight, a bonus. He's won a bonus in every single one of his fights, except for the Khabib fight and the Charles Oliveira fight. Like, the guy is reckless, chaos. He started off as a wrestler as well, but he is only won by knockout. 70%, 19 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. You can't cut him out completely. But when you compare him to the likes of Ilia Topuria, how could I go any different? And that's why I'm saying this entire card is skewed in one direction. It's so hard not to pick the favorites in every single one of these fights. I can't imagine the favorite is going to win in every fight. But based off of what we have in front of us, that's what it's looking like. So again, if you want this fight prediction sheet, it is available, link in the description. Obviously, you're not going to be using stars like I have to make your picks. You're going to actually print this out and use a pen. Okay? Now, don't download it right away. Don't download it today. Wait until Friday at the latest, because it will be updated with the proper betting odds. We actually still have to wait for the weigh-ins, which is actually going to happen on Saturday. And if someone doesn't make weight, there's going to have to be last-minute changes. But let's hope to fuck everybody makes weight. So that could change this fight prediction sheet too. I also have to include the little name slot and the total at the bottom, but I'll do that later. Yeah, folks, it's finally fucking here. Freedom 250. We're at the moment this Sunday. That's it for this episode. I've said enough. I am so fucking excited for this. And again, if you liked this episode and you want to see more, because I've got plans for this podcast to make it better, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. You know the drill. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.